Hi, I'm Julie Thompson, Executive Director of pac-tv, and today we're hosting a COVID-19 update for the town of Kingston. I am welcomed today by Josh Warren, who's the Chair of the Board of Selectmen in Kingston. You can watch this on your local government channels or on pac-tv.org/live. Also, for replays on any of these forums that we've had for the town of Kingston, just go to pac-tv.org/Kingston. Also, if you have a question during today's show, please just email us to kingstoninfo@pac-tv.org. So we'll get right into the few topics we're going to talk today with Josh Warren. Welcome, Josh.
Julie, thank you for having me, and thank you again for continuing to organize these updates for all the communities that you serve. I know Kingston residents that we've heard from have certainly gotten a lot from the time and the effort that you guys are putting in. So as always, thank you for having us. I think today's update will be relatively brief. There's been quite a bit that's changed since we last spoke, and certainly quite a bit that's changed in terms of local numbers and numbers across the Commonwealth since this time last month. So I am looking forward to discussing that with you, the current trend in the new reported cases. So I think today's program will be brief, but hopefully informative for everybody who's watching at home.
Okay, why don't we start right within the COVID-19 update for the town of Kingston. You sent me a chart, and do you want me to bring it up first, or do you want to have a little explanation before it comes up?
Why don't we wait a few minutes, and then I'll let you know when to pull that up. So okay. I did want to start and just discuss the trend that we're seeing statewide. So the total number of COVID-19 cases statewide are going in the right direction. They're still trending down. This week, for the first time in months, we saw the number of hospitalizations statewide dip below 1,000. Again, that's the first time that we've seen COVID-19 related hospitalizations in the Commonwealth below 1,000, which, again, is very positive news. Having said that, we're still seeing the impact that the virus is having on the state. Just yesterday, the Massachusetts Department of Public Health reported there were 271 new confirmed and probable cases. Again, they're now reporting on confirmed and probable cases. So these probable cases are instances where there's no diagnostic test that definitively points to this being COVID-19. However, based on symptoms, based on proximity to those who have tested positive, there's a whole litany of different factors that play into that. There's no diagnostic test that confirms it's COVID, but a medical expert could safely say that it is a probable case. They're also now reporting probable deaths. So we did see a spike in statewide numbers the day that they started counting probable cases. This is in line with the CDC's recommendation to track those as well. So yesterday, across the state, we did see 271 new confirmed and probable cases, as well as 36 deaths. So even though numbers are trending in the right direction, this is still very real. This is still, in our community, in the Commonwealth. And we're certainly asking at the local level, at the state level, and at the national level that folks do continue to heed the prescription of our state and national officials and continuing to practice social distancing, continuing to wear a mask when in public. So numbers are headed in the right direction. And as folks have seen, this has allowed the state to relax some of the restrictions that were previously in place, now allowing for things like outdoor dining and various forms of shopping and entertainment and recreation. But again, there's still very serious impacts that are being felt in Plymouth County and across the Commonwealth. Speaking of Plymouth County, on a local level, yesterday DPH announced that there were 8,555 confirmed and probable cases of COVID-19 in Plymouth County. That was an increase of 33 from the previous day's count. Again, like the numbers in the Commonwealth, Plymouth County numbers are still relatively low compared to where they were weeks ago. Over the last 7 days, we've averaged approximately 16 and a half new confirmed and probable cases per day versus back in April when we were at sort of the peak of this so far. And over a 7-day stretch, we were seeing an average of 243 confirmed positive cases per day in Plymouth County. So again, things look very different than they did a month ago. I think we can safely say that a lot of that has to do with the social distancing and the vigilant hand washing and the use of masks. You can pull that graphic up now if you don't mind, Julie, and we'll discuss Kingston's local numbers. So our number in Kingston remains at 129. We've been there for a few days, and 64 of those are from one facility. But if residents can see, there was a big jump on the graphic that Julie's put up. And that spike in local numbers came a week ago today, so on June 12th. And that increase was the result of the Visiting Nurses Association providing our local Board of Health with new data that was actually, in some cases, 6 weeks old. So we got a deluge of new cases that were presented to us all at once, but were not from that 24-hour period.
Okay.
Those actually were stemming back weeks. So that explains the spike that folks saw last Friday. And Julie, you can pull that down if you'd like. I just wanted to make sure that folks had the visual of what that resulted in.
Okay, great.
And again, that was the VNA providing our local Board of Health with new data that was actually a little bit dated.
Okay, excellent. So that wasn't an overnight spike. That was just
no.
We were
And
catching up with information that was already should have been baked into those numbers all along over the last 6 weeks. Perfect.
Correct. And for the Board of Health, for the emergency management team, the reopening task force, and primarily our first responders, having that information and having accurate information is really important. We've tried to provide as much information and as accurate of information to residents, but really the priority in reporting these numbers is to make sure that what the Board of Health is learning goes right to our police and fire chief, even though those departments are going to sometimes extreme measures in terms of the precaution when they go to a home, when they have a medical call, so on and so forth. It's a much safer situation for everyone involved if they know that there is a confirmed positive case of COVID-19 at the address that they're visiting, so that in addition to a face mask, gloves, what have you, they know whether or not they're wearing a gown or any additional precautions need to be taken into consideration.
Okay, great. And just to reiterate, we have every day at noon, we have a Plymouth COVID update we have for the past 3 months. And we have an epidemiologist and a doctor from BID that are on once or twice a week on those. And they just keep stressing, please continue to wear your masks. Please continue to social distance. That is proven over and over and over again how that really is our best defense against spreading this. So I hope people, even with our gradual reopenings, which are wonderful, you can still do those wearing a mask in public and keeping social distancing whenever possible.
And we're certainly seeing in a number of states that opened, their numbers are rising. I hope that that's something that we can avoid here in the Commonwealth, and certainly here in Kingston, with exactly what you just said. Residents continuing to social distance, wash their hands, wear face coverings. Even though local cases are in decline, we've had plenty of discussions within the emergency management team about the need to maintain our levels of personal protective equipment. Now that police and fire have seen a decrease in the number of COVID-related calls, they are adequately stocked with personal protective equipment, the PPE that people keep hearing about. But we are discussing, the potential for a spike, as we're seeing in other states. We're discussing the potential for there to be a spike this fall, which I know a lot of folks are talking about. And we've had a number of discussions regarding the need to stock up on PPE now in anticipation of a potential increase this coming fall.
Right. And not only for COVID, but also for the flu, influenza. It happens every fall also. Okay, we were going to move on to the Council on Aging. You have some news about your Council on Aging.
Sure. Director of Elder Affairs, Paula Rossi-Clapp, wasn't able to join us today, but she did ask that we make a few announcements. Paula's been working very closely with Kingston's Fire Chief, Mark Douglas, to resume tax preparation services through the AARP program. This is a program that's funded by a grant, and it provides access to seniors for tax preparation services. So this program's been on hold since the COA closed its doors to the public, but all indications are that this will resume next week and at the latest on June 29th. So Paula and Mark have been working with AARP. They've been trying to identify, and I believe they have identified, a section of the COA that could be used in a very safe way to service the 85 seniors who previously made appointments. AARP is not taking on new appointments, but they are going to try and honor all of those appointments that had been made prior to the pandemic. Paula did share that a few Kingston residents were able to do their tax prep services in Duxbury, where they just recently resumed this service. But that's something that we hope to have a firm date on. And those who have made appointments for the AARP tax preparation services through the Council on Aging will be contacted in the coming days as a date is set to resume those services. Council on Aging is also resuming volunteer drivers for their Meals on Wheels program. And if folks have been watching these COVID-19 updates on pac-tv for the last several months, they'll know that Paula has joined us a number of times to really discuss the value of the Meals on Wheels program, the accessibility of the Meals on Wheels program. And since the COA has closed its doors to the public, the number of residents taking advantage of that program has more than doubled. So there's a need for volunteers to be trained in the new safety protocols. And any volunteer returning, I believe, will not have to be Corey checked. But if you're a new volunteer and this is something that you'd like to do, you'll receive that new safety training regarding the COVID-19 protocols. Hey, thanks, buddy. Thanks. As well as you'll have to be Corey checked. And throughout the pandemic, I know the Council on Aging, that department in particular, heard from a number of residents who wanted to help, who wanted to lend their time, and who wanted to give back. And this is certainly a great way to give back in a very meaningful way. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think last week there was something like 260, or perhaps it was this week, 260 plus meals that were delivered through that program to Kingston residents. So if anybody's watching and would like to volunteer to deliver meals through the Meals on Wheels program at the COA, Paul has asked that they call 781-585-0512 to get some additional information on that.
Okay, great. Your COA is awesome. Paula is she just does a wonderful job. She's just a delightful person. She must be wonderful to work with. Now, your elections are a week from tomorrow, on the 27th. And if we could just bring up the main website here. There we go. So on the right-hand side of your website, you do have some hyperlinks where you can get the actual ballot, sample ballots. It tells a special election absentee ballot application. And that was my question to you, Josh. Is it too late to apply for an absentee ballot, get it, and be able to mail it back in, or would you have to actually bring it to the townhouse?
So, Julie, that's a great question, and I'd certainly advise anybody who still wishes to vote absentee to contact the clerk's office, and I know his contact information is available on the website that you just pulled up.
Yep.
I've heard from residents who, they applied on the 1st for an absentee ballot. They received it, I think, on the 12th. So there was a bit of a lag in receiving those absentee ballots. I don't know if there's still enough time to request one, receive one, mail it in, and have that vote counted.
Right.
So I'd certainly recommend that anybody who still wishes to vote by absentee ballot reaches out to Paul Gallagher, the Kingston Town Clerk, and asks him. But just a little bit more information. So the annual town election and recall elections will be held, as you said, on Saturday, June 27th, 1 week from tomorrow. Mm-hmm. The polling hours are 8 a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. And as was the case with the special state Senate elections that we recently had, residents from all precincts will be able to cast their ballots at the Kingston Elementary School. Due to challenges presented by COVID-19, voting at the townhouse will not be available. And residents may remember we had Paul Gallagher on for a COVID-19 update here on pac-tv prior to the special state Senate elections to explain why we were using one polling location and just again directing anybody who's looking to cast a ballot on Saturday, June 27th. I just want to reiterate that the townhouse will not be open for polling, and all residents, regardless of precinct, are asked to report to the Kingston Elementary School to vote.
Okay, perfect. And again, they'll call the clerk's office if they have any questions about voting. Your town meeting has been postponed until July 11th from the latest update from the town moderator. So that has been, that has been posted on your website. So that's right now, that's the date that it's scheduled for, is the 11th of July, which is a Saturday. So more to follow.
Sure.
I would assume after the election on the 27th, you will have a new moderator, I believe, also. Is that correct?
Yeah. So at our last special town meeting, Moderator Wallace announced that she was not seeking re-election. So we're almost guaranteed to have a new moderator by the now scheduled town meeting, which is Saturday, July 11th. Of course, there's always a possibility that Janet would be there again if there was a pretty aggressive write-in effort. But right now, all indications are that we will have a different moderator on Saturday, July 11th. It's still posted for 9:00 a.m. at the Kingston Intermediate School, which was the location scheduled this past weekend. But that decision came last week, I believe, on Thursday to postpone for 30 days. As a result, the town's now moving forward with a 1/12 budget to start fiscal year 21. And voting on the 1/12 budget or moving in that direction allows the town to allocate enough funds for 1 month of operations based on this current year's spending. So I'm certainly hopeful that town meeting will happen on the 11th. There's, as you know, Julie, you were instrumental in equipping the school to really have a successful town meeting during the current COVID-19 pandemic. So I do hope that we were able to have that and do so in an expeditious fashion. I mean, it'd be great if we could get through all the town business in one day. The warrant's been reduced to 20 articles. There's the additional ability for a moderator to condense some of those articles and combine them so that hopefully we are able to get in and out of there in one day.
Okay, we'll see. Whatever we need to do, we will pivot and work with the towns that we represent. Absolutely.
And I do just want to thank you again. I was so impressed by the amount of work that pac-tv put into to supporting what would have been a very untraditional town meeting. You guys wired an overflow room. There were pieces of tape indicating which seats were to be used. And I was so impressed with the microphone setup that allowed for residents, for department heads, for officials to utilize the amplification services without physically touching those microphones. So kudos to you and everybody on your team. The sound engineers were incredible. And I just really want to thank you for all the time you put into that.
Oh, no worries. And actually, we learn a lot. And I think actually moving forward, it makes sense anyway to use the type of boom mics that will actually hang over people's heads. They never have to be touched by someone, because when people come up to a microphone, if they're short or tall, they will grab the microphone itself. So that was always kind of dirty, that you had people that had to touch, and then you speak right into a microphone, and a lot of people kind of spit when they speak. So it's kind of a good thing anyway that we've learned that we can have microphones that do not have to be touched by a number of people that come up to speak. So in a way, there's always a silver lining to everything, and you learn something for everything that happens. So we will gladly do whatever we need to do. We do have one town who's going forward, we think, with a virtual town meeting. So that's a whole new thing that we're learning also. But in our new reality, we all have to pivot. We all have to be as flexible as we can and work with the technology. And there's a lot of great technology out there. So in that way, we're all very fortunate. But thank you for the compliment.
My wife, who's about 5 feet tall, will appreciate the fact that she no longer has to adjust the microphone.
Right. And we even found out that there's a certain kind of mask that we actually purchased for anyone who would have spoken at that town meeting, because some of the cloth masks really muffle the sound. And these microphones aren't right in front of you. They're quite a bit above you. So there's a certain kind of mask that is the protective mask, but it allows the sound to come through a lot easier. So all those things are stuff that we're learning, and we enjoy learning it because it's going to help everybody in the long run. So one thing before we get to the final thing about the Black Lives Matter event that's happening tomorrow in your town is just how is the restaurant opening with the outside dining only? How did that go for your restaurants that did take advantage of that?
So when I last spoke with Arthur Boyle, Kingston's health agent, everything was running smoothly. Restaurants that were interested in outdoor dining had been going into the townhouse, filling out the appropriate paperwork. And once they check all the boxes and all of the proper departments gave the okay, they were able to open. I know just from passing by a few of those restaurants, I mean, Cancun seems to be filling seats in their back parking lot. It's really nice to see that not only are the restaurants able to reopen, but residents are able to go out and have some sense of normalcy that they would have enjoyed in January and February of this year, and certainly any time before then. So again, I do hope that numbers continue trending in the direction that they're heading. I look forward to the governor continuing to relax the restrictions based on the numbers heading in that direction. And I wish the absolute best to all these restaurants that are now able to open their doors and hopefully eke out what was and is a very challenging time for any business.
Right, exactly. We're with you. And I think everybody is supporting their local restaurants as much as they possibly can, which is wonderful. Again, why this whole community around here is just a wonderful place to live. And so finally, talk about the event that's going to be happening tomorrow.
Sure. This Saturday, tomorrow, 2 local young women will be organizing a Black Lives Matter peaceful protest. It will start and finish at the townhouse, and it's scheduled from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock p.m. The walking route that they'll take will cross Evergreen Street from the townhouse, and utilizing sidewalks throughout the entire distance, will travel down the hill towards Summer Street, turning right onto Summer, then turning right again, onto Green Street. And participants at the end of Green will turn right onto Main Street and ultimately will turn right back onto Evergreen Street. There will be officers who will assist participants in crossing Evergreen Street. That appears to be the only time where traffic would be interrupted. And the event's being organized in collaboration with the Kingston Police Department. I was very impressed by the 2 young women who brought this to the Board of Selectmen. They had actually sat down and discussed it with Chief Splain prior to bringing it to the Board of Selectmen. There's just been a tremendous amount of communication between the organizers and Kingston's Police Department. And yesterday, Kingston's Police Department made a post on Facebook that they stand together in denouncing the egregious conduct taken by 4 members of the Minneapolis Police Department, and that whether by action or inaction resulted in the death of George Floyd. So it's been remarkable to see these 2 organizers working so closely with Kingston's Police Department. And I certainly hope, along with everybody else who's on the Board of Selectmen and I'm sure over at the Police Department, we hope that this goes off. It's a powerful, meaningful afternoon for all those who participate and all those who witness it. And just to tie it all back into to COVID, the organizers are asking that all participants wear masks, and that everyone social distances at the Kingston Townhouse both before and after the walk, as well as on the sidewalks during the event. So in addition to the public safety aspect that Mo's been thinking about, Mo Splain, the chief of police, in regard to interruptions with traffic and having a number of participants walking along the sidewalks on the weekend in the evening when there are a number of cars, there's also the public safety concerns as they relate to the ongoing pandemic, and the organizers have addressed those again. Participants are encouraged to wear masks and will be asked to social distance throughout the duration of the event.
Okay. And I'm sure it'll be a peaceful and wonderful event. It's supposed to be very hot tomorrow, so it's good that it's towards the evening, 5 to 7 p.m.
Yeah, and I know, again, the organizers have been receiving donations of water bottles, things like that. So they will have areas along the walk for people to hydrate. They're encouraging folks to bring bottles of water, and it's a relatively quick walking circuit. So hopefully, folks aren't out in direct sunlight for too long.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for bringing us that information, too. So that'll tie it up for today. We're going to meet you again next Friday at 10:30 for kind of a final one of the summer before your elections happen and then before the 4th of July weekend. We thank you for doing this and hosting this on Fridays, Josh. It's really good to keep the residents up to date on the things that are happening as they happen. And again, if you want to watch anything, go ahead.
I just want to add too, as we had discussed previously, next week will be the last one for the summer. But if there is an increase in numbers, if there is, any major developments with town meeting, with anything else going on in town as it relates to COVID, we'll be back and we'll be using this platform to bring that information to residents at home.
Absolutely. We are available anytime you need the podium, basically, to speak to your constituents and the people of the town of Kingston. Obviously, we are here to serve you, so we are happy and proud to do so. So if you want to see this again or any of the forums that have been done over the last 3 months with the town of Kingston, go to pac-tv.org/Kingston. I'm Julie Thompson. Please social distance, wear your mask, watch out for each other. We'll see you next week. Good day.